I'm Andrew Phillips and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to close and winterize your in-ground pool. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing that we need to start with, we need to remove the rail. We have the ladder, got to remove that, and then we got to do a really good vacuuming. You want to clean it real good before we do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and then we'll be back to continue. Now with all the rails and ladders out, we're going to take the bolt, and then you have this little piece in here that kind of holds it in place. We're going to remove all of those. I'm not going to leave these in here for the winter, and then we'll put those in with all the other things that we take out for the season. You can see the pool is nice and clean. That's how you want it. You want to vacuum up any dirt and debris, skim the surface with the net. Make sure you get as much as you can, but you want it very clean before you seal it up. And now that we have it all clean, as we just saw, nice and vacuumed, all the debris, any grass clippings, whatever on top has been skimmed off, the ladders and the rails have been removed. The next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to lower the level of the pool. So we're going to have to drain it. But before we do that, let me show you what you're going to need now to actually close and winterize your pool. So let's take a look. Now this is what I use right here. You definitely want to get pool antifreeze that you need to pour into the skimmer lines. I usually do 1 gallon per skimmer. I have 2 skimmers, so I'm using 2 gallons. That's what I've always used. It's been fine. Other people might say otherwise, but this is what I use. And then as far as for shocking it, because you do want to winterize shock it before you close it up, you can get kits for that as shown here. But what I've always done, I've always just got 2 gallons, because I have approximately 18,000 to 20,000 gallons of water in my pool. So I take 2 gallons of just liquid pool shock and just shock it that way. That's what I've always done. It worked fine, but you can do whatever you feel more comfortable with. You might want to check out online for your specific pool what they recommend, but this is what I use. And then you will need a compressor. I've got a big one here. You don't need one this big, but you are going to need some kind of an air compressor to blow out the lines. But let's start draining the pool, and then we'll get into all this stuff right here. In addition, you are going to need these 2 big plugs here. They go into your skimmer lines, so you can cap those off. And then we do have the 2 caps here that go on our return lines. If you don't have those, you want to pick them up at your local pool supply store, but you should have them. They should have come with your pool. So if we look right there, that's our skimmer. We have one there, and then we have one down at the shallow end. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lower the water levels approximately 4 inches below the skimmer. So that way when we drain it out, there's no water getting back into it. So to do that, let's head over to the filter, and I'll show you what we're going to have to do for the settings on that. Coming here to our filter, if we look up here, mine's a little bit worn out here, but you have right here, that's your backwash position. So what we'll have to do, we're going to have to shut off the pool back there on its switch. I'm sorry, not the pool, the filter. We're going to have to shut it off. Then we'll come back here, and we're going to move this this point here. So we're going to push the handle down and rotate it so it's on backwash. That's going to then send the water out through our drain line right there. Now, what I've done, so it's not just blowing all over my grass, I've actually added a threaded coupling to it so I can put a fire hose attachment to it, a 100-foot hose, and run it out to the street. If you want to see the video I did where I showed how to modify it that way, you can check it out via the link above down in the description. But also coming here, we have our multiple lines right here. We have, this is our shallow end skimmer, that's our deep end drains on the bottom, and then our deep end skimmer. We're going to close the two skimmers and just leave the main drain on when we drain it, so it's pulling the water from down there in the bottom drains. So I'm going to shut off the filter now. We'll set all that, switch it to backwash, connect the hose, and then get it going. Now that's off. And then if we come here, push this down, we're going to turn it all the way here to backwash. There we go. And then now we will connect the hose up, and then we'll turn it back on and it'll start draining it. Shallow skimmer, deep end skimmer closed, and then just the bottom drains are open. And this is a 100-foot hose right here. You can pick these up online. I'll have some links down in the description if you're interested in one, but it comes in handy. That way you're not spraying it all over your grass in your yard. You can just run it out to the gutter. And I'm fortunate because I actually live on a hill, so the water by default goes down that way, and there's a drain right there on the corner of my property. So just sending it right down there. Now it's important when you turn it on, make sure that the hose is filling up good. You want to make sure that you have a nice wide path, because any crimps in it will lock it up, and then you're putting pressure back here on your filter. You don't want that. Next, we're going to shut this off again. And we're going to come back over here. And now we're going to take it off backwash. And we're going to put it here on waste. And then now with it on waste, now we're going to continue draining it. And just to kind of backtrack, we had it on backwash for about 5 minutes. And now we're going to do it on waste, and then leave it on waste now to take it all the way down below the skimmer levels. We'll turn it back on. So now that we have it all draining, it's coming out good as we saw, we're going to keep an eye here on the skimmers. And we want it to be approximately 4 to 5 inches below that skimmer. So where that white ring or that frame is, we want to drop it below that. So it's a lot of water we got to get out of this thing. Now this can take a while depending on how high your levels are. Ours were full, so we got to take it all the way down. So we're going to actually fast forward here, and I'll see you back here again once we get it down to where it needs to be. You can see out there, we are just right below the skimmers at this point. We're going to take it down probably another 2 inches until we have that entire frame exposed, because you figure as it's sitting there for the winter with snow and different moisture getting in there, we don't want it to raise up, because what we don't want to have happen is get water down in there. So we want it to be low enough that if there is any additional fluids that might get in there, we still have some space. You can see we're just right there at the bottom of that frame. Take it down a little bit more, but what I want to show you here is if you come into your skimmers, you can see that there's still water in here because it's gone below that. So I'm going to open up those lines as well to drain that out next. You can see now it's completely empty. The water's been sucked through. So the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to close those lines because we don't want them running. We don't want them running completely empty. And normally when you're doing the main drain, you only want this one. You don't want the skimmers because as you saw, those empty fast. You don't want them running dry, but you do want to make sure you get that water out of there. We are going to blow the lines for any additional water that might be in there, but you want to drain all that out good first because you don't want that freezing. All right, so we're exactly where I want it to be. You can see the frame is here and you've got about 1/4 of an inch below it. You could go 1/2 inch or an inch, but I'm going to end it right here. So we're going to shut off the filter now from the waste draining that it's doing, and then we'll meet back over there. And what we're going to do is we're going to drain all the water out of the filter and just out of all of that, and then we'll be back to remove the return line caps so we can blow those out, cap them off, and then we'll move on to the skimmers. Switch it off. And now we can roll up this hose. We're done with the draining part of it. If you follow here on your filter, well, on my filter it's here, but it could be different on other ones. You have this plug back here, right back here. We're going to undo that, drain all the water out of the filter. Then we're going to come here on the pump. You have a drain right here. And then you have another one right there on the side. We're going to do all that, drain all of this. Take this one off. And then we get this one here. And I apologize, we just had our grass cut. Got all these clippings all over the place. Normally this would be clean. But we're going to let it drain completely out. While it's draining, we're going to remove the basket out of our filter, and then we're going to go remove the baskets out of the skimmers. This needs to be cleaned anyway. Get that out. Next, I'm going to come to my return lines. I have one here in the deep end, and then there's one all the way there on the shallow end. We're going to remove those little nozzles on there, so that way we can blow it out. Once we blow it out, then we'll cap those off. Sometimes these can be tight, and you may need to use some pliers just to loosen it. But let's grab it. There we go. Let's go take the one off the shallow end. This inner part needs to come out as well. I have a little piece of acrylic. You can get a key for it, but it's slotted. See if I can get a shot of it in here, but it has like a little groove you can see right here, and we can slide a piece in there so we can rotate that and get that out, but that has to come out with it. And this is what I have, just something that I made last year. We'll slide it right here in the groove, like that. And now we can turn it, and we can get this piece out of here. You don't want to leave that in, because the caps are threaded to go in there. And that's the piece. Here's a better look. You can see that groove I'm talking about right there, and that's where we just put the acrylic in that pattern right there, so that way we could loosen it to get that out. Next, I'm going to put these plugs back in here. We're going to cap that off so the air doesn't come out. And then we're going to close all of this here because I don't want air coming out through any of these. So we're going to close this one. So now we have both skimmers and the drain closed. So as we put the air through here, it's going to come through, and it's just going to come out of these two spots here. These are our two return lines here, and they're open. So what we'll do is we'll blow the air out, and once all of it comes out, then we'll cap them off, and then we'll come here and then close them at that point. But right now we're going to leave them both open, and I'm going to show you how you connect the air compressor. We're going to cap this one first. because we are going to be connecting the air compressor to that port here to blow out the return lines. And then when we blow out the skimmers and the drain, then we'll go through this one here. So that way it can come through this pipe and come out this way. For this one, we're going to be blowing back through here. So it'll go through the filter and then through the return lines here and then go out. So let's connect it. I have one of my brass pneumatic fittings that will actually screw right into that port back there. It's the same size. So let's get it in here and we'll screw it in. And we'll just hand tighten it. You don't need to tighten it. You don't want to crack the plastic. So now we can connect right here. We're going to connect our line right into it, and then we'll see it blowing through until we get air bubbles coming through, and then we'll cap them off. Next, we're going to set this to recirculate, which is that one right there. This one here. So we'll take it. Put it on recirculate, and then now we'll connect our air compressor, and that should blow it all through. You can see the air coming through, so we'll take our cap. We're going to plug it up. That's all the way tight. So all the water is blown out of that one. Now we'll head down to the shallow end because that one's starting to get air coming through that one. Just like we did on the deep end, we'll bring in our cap, tighten it up, and let's go shut off our air compressor. Disconnect this. We'll close these lines now, since that's it. They've been blown out, so now those are closed, so the return lines are free of any water. They've been capped off. Next, we're going to move here to the skimmers and the main drain. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this brass fitting to this here. We'll cap that one, and then we'll blow it out the same way. Move it here. Close this one. Okay. And what we're going to do, let's head over and remove the baskets from the skimmers. Pull this out. And these will be put away for the winter. But you want this open because we're going to blow it all out and then cap those off. Let's do the other one. Put that out. And what we're going to do, let's pull back here so I can kind of show you the whole thing. We're going to start with this one in the shallow end. So we're going to close all the lines except this one, blow that out. Then we'll put antifreeze in it, cap it off. Then we'll move on to that one. And then the last thing will be the drains in the middle to blow the air out of that, and then we'll cap off that line. So we'll open this one first. Open that one. That's our shallow one. Once we blow that out, then we'll close it. Then we'll move on to this one, the deep end skimmer. Once we blow that out, we'll close that, and then we'll move on to the main drain, blow it out until air bubbles are coming through, then we'll cap that off. And then we'll remove all the caps again from the filter and the pump, drain them out real good, and then we'll pick up all of our pieces, pack them up for the winter, and cover the pool. All right, so we're going to connect this now, but I'm going to take the camera and show on the other side. You're basically looking for a huge spray to come out where the skimmers are, and you want to wait until that's just blowing air out, and then we'll close this line, fill it with antifreeze, cap it off, and then move on to the other skimmer and do the same thing. Okay, well, as you saw, all that water blows out. That's what you want to see. And then we waited till it was just air coming through. So now we're going to take the antifreeze, because the lines are pretty much blown clear, but just in case there's any moisture left in there, we're going to take this and as I mentioned earlier, I do 1 gallon per skimmer. So I have 2 skimmers. So we're doing 2 gallons and we're just going to keep filling it. We want it to get all the way down the line. Now we've closed the line already, so you don't have to worry about that. So we'll let that go down. Then we're going to take this right here. This is one of these gizmo plugs. Put it down in here. We're going to screw it all the way down in, because that's going to plug that up from any snow, ice, or whatever that melts and gets in there in the winter. You won't have that risk. So this line now is completely capped off. Water's been blown out. We filled it with antifreeze. This is plugging it up. I'll take the rest of the antifreeze and just fill this up, just so that way nothing will freeze inside of here. So we'll fill this up like that. And then this skimmer is done. Let's head over and do the other skimmer the same way. So we closed that line right away. So that way, with the air still blowing through, we've closed it. That way there's no water getting back into it. Next one we're going to do here is open the skimmer in the deep end, do the same thing. This one here, I blew it out a few times, still had some water gurgling up in there. Tried draining it out, but it was still some in there, didn't want to risk it, so we blew it out a few more times. As you can see, it is completely empty, ready for the antifreeze and the cap to be put in. Definitely don't want anything freezing. There we go. And now we'll plug it. I normally like to put a little bit of antifreeze in there in the skimmer itself, but this took everything, so probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to add another gallon, and I may do that after this video is over, but for now, that's it. So now we can blow out the main line and get the air out of that, and we'll cap that off. And looking down in there, you can see I added some antifreeze in there. As mentioned already, I don't like leaving that dry, because if any moisture gets in there and freezes, you could have a problem. I don't want anything cracking, so usually add maybe 3 or 4 inches worth in there just to hold that up. So just to recap, that skimmer's been completely blown out, filled with antifreeze, capped off, the line closed. This one here too, same thing. So now we have the 2 drains in the middle. We're going to blow them out until all the air bubbles come out of there to get all the water out of the lines. Then once it's just air bubbles coming up, then we'll close that line, and then that's all closed, and then we're ready to just put the cover on the pool. All right, so now the last one is this one. We're going to open up the middle drains, and we're going to blow those out, and we're going to put the camera over there, and pretty much you're going to want it to be just all air bubbles coming out. Then we'll cap this off, and then we're done. As you can see here, we've closed these 2. The 2 return lines are closed. Shallow skimmer, deep skimmer, all closed, cleared out, and then now this is left. And once we close that out, and just letting these drain out a little bit more, and then we'll be ready to wrap this up and cover the pool. We'll go ahead now and remove this piece here for the air compressor. And we're going to leave these plugs off because now that we're done, we're going to leave these off for the winter. So we're going to grab all of our caps and plugs with us, get them out of here, and then everything is set. Now I have the skimmer baskets and the little basket from the filter, the caps, the knobs, all that. I have this box right here that I keep just pool supplies. I'll just toss everything in there. So put it all in. And they will be safely kept in here until we reopen it in spring. And we'll put this in here. Now with all of the caps off, so everything is draining out, we're going to come back here. And we're going to put this on the winter setting right here. And that's how we're going to leave it for the winter. And this basically will ensure that it kind of opens everything out, lets everything drain properly. So there we go. Next, we're going to remove the gauge, the pressure gauge off of here. And this one needs to be replaced anyway. You can see it's kind of not going back to zero, so it needs to be replaced. And then we have this little glass fitting here. We'll take those off as well. So now all of that has been removed. There's nothing where water can get trapped in there. Now it's important, once you do all of that, you want to come to your breaker box and you want to shut off everything pertaining to pool here on your breaker box as well. We also had it off where the timer was, but you want to cut it off here as well so it's all shut down. All right, now that we've cleared out the lines, and just to recap again, don't mean to be redundant, but just to recap, we blew out the return lines, capped them off, closed them there on the valve so that way they're sealed. Then we did the shallow skimmer, the deep end skimmer, and then the drain, same thing, blew them out. We put antifreeze in the two skimmer lines, filled those up, and then we closed everything here. We drained out our filters, took all of their plugs and caps off, let them drain out completely. So the next thing that we're ready to do is we're ready to cover the pool. So I'm going to now shock it. As mentioned already, there's different winterization things you can put and all like that. I just use just a regular chlorinated shock. I'll put 2 gallons in and we'll pour it in here, and then we'll be back to cover the pool and wrap up this video. All right, so everything has been put in, and what I did is just kind of went around the whole pool, focused mainly on the deep end, kind of outlined the whole thing. So that's done. I'm going to get the pool cover, and I'll show you which one we're using. I'm not going to show you how to put it on because there's different ones, but let's take a look at that, and then we'll get into that. Now this is the pool cover that I'm using. This is just a polyethylene pool cover, and you use the little water bag weights to go along the edges of it. I like them because they work really good. They're very inexpensive. You can get them for under $100. You can get them made just for your pool size. My pool size is a custom size, so I just go with a bigger one, and then we just fold it up. And then we put these on here. I'm not going to show how to put it into this video. I will have links across the top, also down in the description, where I did the product review on this. We actually ran it through the winter, saw how it held up when we opened the pool in the spring, and also showed how to put it, how to install it, and with the water weights, all that stuff. You can check that out if you want to see it. But I'm going to go ahead and cover the pool, and then we'll be back to wrap up this video. Hold on, geese flying over. All right, pool cover is on. Got this down. As mentioned already, I have a product review and kind of a how-to with this type of pool cover. I like these. It worked really good. But we have these down. You do need a second person if you're doing this kind of pool cover. But that wraps up this video on how to winterize and close your pool for the season. Approximately, you're looking at 2 to 3 hours to do it right. So kind of allocate that time to do it. But that wraps up this video. I hope that this was informative for you, helped you out if you're getting ready to close your pool. Please send me any questions, comments. I would love to hear from you. I'll have links down in the description to other videos pertaining to pools and just yard work, things like that might be beneficial. But I appreciate all the support, so please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.